Greetings, folks. Welcome back. Are once again streaming, checking out something that randomly. Take care of that real quick. Gonna do a test. Working properly. We have a moment of me staring at the screen. So I can sound is working. Had troubles with that from time to time. So thanks for joining us here. I'm actually going to go ahead and send out a tweet. This is kind of an exciting day as we are at 49 out of 50 followers as needed for our affiliate here at Twitch. We've been working on this for quite a number of months, and we were at 48 while waiting for the stream to start. Thanks to Darth Stroyerga, we made it up to 49. So tonight we're going to play some Subnautica. Interestingly enough, Subnautica was the game that I originally wanted to play on this. And this is the first time that I have not played this game since shortly after release. For the most part, I was more interested in building a base.
Warning,
and
emergency power only. Oxygen production offline.
Was more interested in building a base, exploring necessarily than I was following the main story. So as a result,
Power restored. All primary systems online.
it's a pretty nice base. Most of the bells and whistles, as far as I know, the main story itself is almost entirely untouched. This is one of those survival games where your true enemy is your own inventory. The amount of things that you need to create to just stay alive are extensive, and the amount of space that you have is limited. Storage is limited. Since I haven't played this in quite some time, I have a feeling a little bit learning curve back into it. Let's jump in. Now, I remember from when I was playing, I have Seamoth, prawn suit, as well as, of course, the full-size set. I'm using a controller, right? That was the way that I had played originally, even though I am on PC. You might see some bull. We're figuring it out leaps and bounds. This might end up being a little bit of a quieter and more ambient stream, as I have a dental issue. Sometimes happens, and we'll be going back into the news tomorrow. It's a chat as much as I will.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
Here we are in our sub. Painstakingly created a parking space so that I could park it next to the base by using lights and power lines. Works fairly well. For now, I'm actually going to grab the sea moth, bring the sea moth here into sub, and then head over towards the start of the game, which I'm pretty sure is where the last bit of the story is for me. And all right, birthday. This is the engine. It also requires a certain amount of maintenance, which I don't recall how to do. This was such a fun game when I played it. It's really nice to be coming back to it, especially with the matching. Well, we usually controls, I think I need to. It really is a beautiful game. I haven't tried it recently. When I first got it, I tried to do it in a surround monitor. Didn't quite work out. Wasn't really designed for it. Let's get a good view at the base. It has all of the main necessities, which in this game is food and water. So you can see our farm in there. Make our way into the base.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
First, the desalinization room, because you literally can never have enough water in this game. I have a few large filtered waters with me. I have some cured fish. Let's go upstairs. Some. I was supposed to have left one. Or that how you planted it. Let's do a different button for jump. If I can do anything about that. Okay. We have food, we have water. We have a location. Storage should be. Sometimes, at least during the beta, this game didn't always behave best when you played after being away for a long period of time. But I do believe that has been resolved.
Online.
Ever spiffy sea moth. Just gonna go dock that into our sub. And disembark. This game truly is beautifully crafted.
Engine powering up.
Remembering exactly how to We'll figure it out as we. Okay. Nice look at the base. This is definitely a marked contrast to the fast-paced activity of Diablo 3 last night. But this is, like I mentioned, the original series that we had planned for the channel. Chance to finally play. Okay. So that's what I have marked. Or rendezvous point, dry land. Necessarily mean stories. Let's see if there isn't something. I think is to go back to original life pod. Still saving screen. There are creatures in this game, if you're not familiar, called reefback, which are sort of like aquatic, you know, not non-mammal whales, like whales that stay underwater and actually develop a full reef system on their backs. Make the loud noise. It's our destination. But I'm having some trouble figuring out some of the. Let's grab the sea moth and see if we can speed up finding what we need.
All systems online.
It seems to me the icon, which is supposed to indicate where my life pod is stuck. Which may be one of those things I talked about. Coming back. So. Okay. I think for the most part, that are my current quests, as well as the life pod, which had radio, which I'm not sure if I actually my base. So now that we know which way to go, that's what we're seeing before. There are not too many buttons on this controller, but I've still not figured out how to. controls. Okay. Majestic submarine. One of the most difficult things, without question, when first starting this game was simply finding enough food and water to stay alive, varying enough materials back and forth to build the things that you need to go forth. Basically, through a variety of different weapons, variety of different means, increase your inventory capacity. And the greater inventory capacity, the more materials that you could save up at once, the larger items that you could make. Till eventually got to the point where you're making bases and you could save up enough stuff to make things like gigantic submarines. I had actually first started setting up the streaming back when this game came out. Really wish I had recorded the solid 48 plus hours of playtime that I have in this game up until now. But since the main story was left untouched, it does give a fun opportunity to explore the crash of the Aurora and see what happens without constantly having to survive. Get back to the base. It's always food and water. Many of the people watching this channel are reef tank enthusiasts. As you can imagine, being someone who, there we are, had to give up his reef tanks when moving from California to Colorado. Those guys are bad news. They will explode. Playing this game was really enjoyable. A lot of it resonated with projects that I myself would have liked to have done at a smaller scale, and then an independent developer comes along. Does it 100 times better than it could have. Okay, so this life pod here is the original life pod that you can start the game. Even though it is dark over there, you can see the Aurora, which is the ship that we crashed in. And at this point, I believe it's on fire. It explodes a variety of ways. And those things happen, I believe, more time. I believe it's already exploded. I already have necessary onboarded a couple times. But let's check this radio. We'll talk about that later.
This is Life Pod 6. I have a passenger on board. Coordinates attached. We've landed a kilometer from the crash site, but there's radiation in between us and the rendezvous. Request immediate assistance. 6 out.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
Okay. So this fabricator, which allows you to make most of the items, is your only way to prepare food and water and all of the tools.
Fluid intake.
That, as far as I know, there is only survival.
Vital signs stabilizing.
Let's eat some fish. So yeah, this is all you had at the start. It was very, very cramped. You never know what you've left. Decomposing Chinese potatoes. food either needs to be eaten fresh or prepared. Some of the stuff that I actually forgot while I was taking care of this. So I'm actually just going to chow down. Decomposing potatoes. My favorite. Drink some water. Alright. So. Simplify. Okay. 17. Rendezvous dryland. Let's go ahead and take care of these lifeboats. We'll just do them one at a time. So the first one's pretty close. And the reason why I bring the sub with me. On way.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
All systems online.
Love the sound of the sea moth. Straight out of the old Jetsons cartoons. Those aware of it. So all these things that you're seeing here are actually things which can be used. These are the ones where you get rubber. Harvest plants, or you can simply cut them up. Same thing with fish. Here we are. This particular knife is a thermal blade, which cooks your fish as you kill them. Very convenient. Uncooked fish are incredibly hydrating. Fresh cooked fish will give you cured fish, remove just a little bit. Balancing those things, health, oxygen is more than enough. And then this is also interesting here. It's because this particular fish they're going to catch. Bladderfish at the start of the game is one of your best sources of fresh water. Created a very interesting ecosystem. The whole game does not look like this. Biomes, I believe is how they refer to them. There are several markedly different looking ones. Including some which are definitely unsettling and filled with unsettling things which will suddenly roar and then come at you and actually try to eat. Not just you, but like this pod. Hey, you can't eat. This is not the guy who can eat. Bonking a fish is a good way, but it does damage craft. Hopefully I'm taking care of it. Okay. Trusty repair tool. All of these tools require batteries, which is another source with power. Okay. here, but I'm not really seeing any. Which means this could be one of the ones which I had already visited earlier in the game. Reef backs I was referring to. They are one of the cooler things. Even fun. Oh, resources. Fur and other interesting things. And a lot of these things, like corals and such. Oh, that one's actually hostile. Can be broken down to create things like circuitry. That's how you get the more advanced technologies. It's an interesting. I don't want to stretch, but it was an interesting way to introduce the ability to recreate high technology after essentially being stranded in the ocean. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Oh, first one. Let's go ahead. That is second one. I don't remember if it's native or it's a modification, but I know that people have played this game in VR. I think it's actually it's a rough game to play in VR if you have any sort of VR sickness, which regrettably I do. So earlier in the game, these pieces of machinery, pieces of wreckage from the Degassi are the other you get your high technology. So some quartz here. The bioreactor fragment, not something that we need anymore. But by scanning source, stasis cannon. Pathfinder tool. Actually do have a couple of things which you could call weapons. One of them freezes and one of them pushes away. Interestingly, I got those quite early in the game by finding a time capsule left by a different player who had already beaten the game. And I had played it very close to the beginning, so they had only beaten it days after it had come out. And I don't know if you're still able to do it, but the first people who beat the game were able to basically leave a few items and a message in a box that other players could find. I had a couple really, really helpful ones offered to me. That definitely gave me a boost when I found out how long it would. This one looks a little bit farther down, and I'm pretty sure that I have done this one. Also seeing the radio icon screen, which I believe is telling me there is a new message. And then the larger outcroppings. Require, yes, the prawn suit has a large drill arm, which you can use. It's larger source devices. Okay. So this is where the cave system. But the game is expansive enough. Or, once you find your way down, there are several layers. which get progressively more dangerous as you need things like oxygen sources to survive, to hostile environments. When a signal's underground, things can sometimes get a little disorienting because the game seems to make it disappear a bit based upon how close you are. So sometimes you'll be above it and it will disappear, but it doesn't actually let you know where the entrance to the cave is. It's not there. Try this from the other side. General change in color, scenery. Pretty strong indication that new biome, which doesn't only mean creatures, but it means new things that you can find on the seafloor. This radio signal is very elusive. Like I said, I'm almost positive that I've already explored it, but according to my save file, last time I played this was February, so, and this is what I was looking for. It's going to take us into a different biome with creepy noises. Yeah, the noises in this game are not necessarily random. They indicate either something is close by, things attacking, or that something is in a general area. We've gone into considered a dangerous biome, which are called a warper, which is a scary sea monster which will teleport you out of your sub into a random spot. Maybe teleport your whole sub, but I see some interesting stuff here. So let's see what we blood. More blood on. What is blood on? Oh, these are quite large. So this can be processed into some sort of rare chemical, which I don't need right. Get rid of those as well. Some things like quartz are always useful. There's a short list of items which are always good to pick up. But
Welcome aboard, Captain.
this is less a game that you rush through, and more a game that occasionally tries to kill you. Okay, well, let's skip that one then. And let's go to the damaged Sea Glide. This is the one that's got the message for. It's bad. I do know a bit of this story, and while it is a slow-paced tale, without question, it's quite interesting. Things will not be this calm and placid or relatively normal looking for. These are also fun. So these rocks have a feature on them, floaters, and they're buoyant, actually attached to the rock. So if I were to jump out, and I guess it's kind of a mean rock. I could just pick it up. Okay. So I picked up one of them, which has changed the balance of the rock. It's now slowly dropping because they don't buoyancy, so it's great. The bottom. Dropping faster. And dropping faster. Dropping faster. And now it's a rock. It's pretty cool. Also stick them to things, so I put extra ones on that rock. This rock is floating. That's just really, really clever. It's a great use of object-oriented programming. I wonder if you could put enough on a reef go up towards the surface. I doubt it. These things have always felt sort of like the trains in Grand Theft Auto. So interesting to look at. And if you are a reef enthusiast, or if you know about corals or aquariums, and you've seen some of the way that the corals and other things like that, seeing those different things amalgamate is really. If we were just starting the game, I would have ran out of oxygen, died a long time ago. Which is why I actually thought this series would be kind of fun. Get to experience the story with a little bit less of the inherent frustration, which is itself the game. Okay, so that one's a bit past the life pod. Pretty much the same distance on the other side of the sub, so let's go straight towards it. There are some dangerous areas as we get closer to the Aurora. In particular, behind it is dangerous, and in front of it is ridiculously, insanely, actually scary, run for your life dangerous. I once thought I would circle around the front of the Aurora just for fun, and I kept hearing a sea king, one of the large leviathans that will chase you and actually try to eat your little sea moth. And I heard one chasing me. After a good 5 minutes or so, I turned around and realized that there were 3 chasing me, and that they weren't normal ones, they were legendary ghost sea king dragons with real problem with humans being in the territory. So let's see what we have here. If these are from the beginning of the game, a lot of times, see, you find like sea glide fragment. Very useful in the beginning. I already have one, but can always be turned into resources. And pretty much all the life. There are no other survivors. We're the one. Based on the look of this place, I have as well. Well, let's go back and check the radio again, so we did see that icon. Let's see if there's any. This is a pretty normal biome, so it's like quartz and fish here, and these which make.
Seek fluid intake. Vital signs stabilizing.
Now, I don't know if it's still possible. I did hear that at some point, some people had some interesting setups going in their submarines, including desalinization machines. But there also used to be some issues where you could put a battery charger on the submarine and then charge the sub's batteries in the battery charger on the submarine. About that for a second or two. Violates all sorts of laws of physics. And I do believe they fixed that, but okay. Let's just jump out here real quick. If there is a new message. So this guy I know proposed a Gazi habitat and the rendezvous point. I also believe are things which have already been. Beacons are things which I left in particular places. They're my items. So 3 red, 2 green. Let's see what we get.
This is Sunbeam. You know Aurora. We're from a little transgov on the far side of Andromeda, and we have a saying there. There's no bad without the good, no good without the bad. Sounds like you tasted a bunch of the former, but that only means you're overdue a whole lot of the latter. Might just be we're in. We're scanning for somewhere to park. We'll be in touch when we find it. Sunbeam out.
Okay. So, from my understanding, that's more of the actual start of the main story of getting off. Got anything else? Okay. So, proposed Degassi habitat is a habitat from the first group of explorers that got stranded here. It's an interesting underground area with giant glowing blue mushrooms that have pink mushrooms that have like leviathan snakes living inside them. So when you go over them, these giant snakes come out. It's like all the horrors of the ocean rolled up into just a lovely package. If you're more of a oceanographer, you're someone who actually studies the biology of the organism in the ocean, of which I only know a small part. Mostly the way corals and soft corals interact. It is a brutal chemical warfare situation. Things are always attacking other things in ways that you aren't aware of. The joys and not joys of having home reef. You have a tank that's doing great and you put something else in the tank and it's doing great. All of a sudden one day the tank is full of cloudy water and one thing has melted and another thing is not doing well. Realize that they actually had some sort of a desperate battle for survival just by releasing chemicals into the nearby water and sensing that up there. So the give and take in the ocean, way more brutal. Lions eating gazelles. It's seem to have run up. I am in one of the shallowest areas of the game, by design, so that it very easily surface. And I decided to bring a giant school boat. I'm smart. Yes. Okay. Going straight into the story like this, fully equipped, does miss out on some of the fun things. I actually really enjoyed finding chunks of wreckage from exploring those to find some technology. But the amount of time that went into that was exhaustive. I did 2 hours. A solid month of me getting stuck in low shallows because I'm driving a school bus. Which would have been fun to see. But other folks have done that sort of thing. I think getting a chance to see the story. Direct, straightforward. Would work out well.
All systems online.
Now, quit it. Okay. So the habitat is below us. Much like the other one, we defined down. Oh my. How interesting. So, my base is actually over in that direction, and it requires a lot of power. More power than I could get normally, so I ran power relays significant distance to a thermal vent. Surrounded that thermal vent with thermal power generators. So yeah, if I follow this laser, because lasers work underwater just like this, and you can use them to send energy. It's always silly to nitpick on future technology, especially when it's just still having some fun. So yeah, here we are back at the base. It's not as small an ocean as it seems. I just don't remember anything is, and I'm going in circles. Our goal is still trying to get into that habitat. It requires an entrance underground, which I'm not. Soon enough, we're going to get another beacon coming in on the radio. We're going to do as far as the main story goes. Right now, the game is kind of thinking that we're still early on. It's likely to get to build stuff and catch up. This hole significantly deep. I believe it's right here. Here we are. So finding this originally was exciting. Not just because of the way it looked. Just the ability to come down slow required upgrading the sea moth so it could handle greater pressures. And you can see one of those giant worms. Seem to have found a thing. Let's see what it is. A lot of times, you're forced to make choices with your inventory. Every once in a while, 2 pieces of incredible titanium cover inventory. Where? Okay. So the first group of explorers that crashed here were originally stranded on an island. Oh, those guys are so creepy. And they made their way down here to make their first habitat. It's not a good idea. But when you're starting the game, this is where you start to get those first blueprints to base. See over here, basically, what was the start of the fire base that you saw. I should probably repair. I've hit that a few too many times. There we go. Okay, and it looks like beacon's going off, which means that we're ready for the next part. Recall correctly, though we came in the other side right here. Might not seem like it, but at one point I did play this game well enough that I actually a small number of those underground passageways. I've also seen stuff in other people's places that I've never seen before. There's definitely a lot to be explored, even after exploring quite a bit. Now, instead of going back to the lifeboat, I'm actually going to go back to the base. Because my belief is that I radio there. If not, I can. So, back to the base. We'll just turn on suit. Parking this thing is tricky. But if I remember correctly, center reticule, that light
engine powering down.
This sub, just like everything else, uses batteries. Quite large. It's really not good. Let's see how.
Seek fluid intake.
600. I used to have a battery charger right there on the wall. Charge these back with these. Highly scientific. I'm gonna get some water. Yeah. Salinization room. There's only a few of them.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Let's see.
Vital signs stabilizing.
Let's get some more food. Pull up on food. Andy. True scientific fashion, salinating salt water gives you salt and water. It's good, but at this point I have so much salt. That I believe these contain just full. Salted? Yep. I have that much salt. A few things. Let's drink some water. Fish. Got some healing things. Table coral. Fabrication. Have a room that has a storage for such things. Fabrication. I think that's where the. Hopefully my mic is picking up. Not always. Yeah. I will have to endeavor to speak a little bit louder. Like I said earlier, I am, as often happens, I am in need of the dentist and have an appointment tomorrow, and simply am not able to speak or open my jaw the way I would. So my apologies if I've been cutting it out. Speaking of battery chargers, fabricated. You know, I don't think I have a radio. Where should we put it? Put it on the sub. I'm pretty sure I can do that. These are the sub batteries, by the way. And the only thing which doesn't need batteries is the base itself. And as you guys saw before, it has a total fire thermal vent power system.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
My understanding is I can build down here. So build. Right in here. Right here, I believe, is a utility room. Interesting. The decoys might not have been in the game when I used it last. Okay. Let's try a hand that fabricated. This just makes radio. We have the copper and the titanium. It's just a matter of finding a spot for it. We built one because that disinterested in the main story, or I should say I was that interested in just getting to explore and build my own base. That was actually what it was draw for me this game was. And we now have a radio.
High priority automated message from Aurora Live Pod 13 coordinates attached. Live Pod is carrying high priority passenger.
Yoki Kasa. I said Kasa. Why do I have to record this anyway?
Send immediate burial detail.
Signal location uploaded to PDA.
If you're someone who appreciates dark humor, this game is drenched in dark humor. Absolutely seeping dark humor. Okay, this is what I meant to do before. By changing the colors, the default colors blue for new signals. So by having them something other than blue, then I can figure out this. So we saw the Degasi habitat. The Aurora rendezvous point dry land. Maybe I had one prior communication with them. That might be someplace I need to visit. But for now, take a look at LifePod 13. We'll go over and check out the Aurora point. Nicely enough, because the Seamoth also needs to charge batteries. Seamoth will charge its batteries when it's in the sub. Off of the sub's batteries, which need to be charged at the base, which are charged by geothermal. It's a great game.
Engine powering up.
If you are familiar with this game, you're probably aware they have a new expansion coming out. I don't know if it's necessarily a sequel or side story, which I am excited to play, and I think a lot of other people are too, because it'll be a chance to relive that first experience of really needing to fight for your survival, get all those basics together. Because at this point in the game, like I said, we're doing the main story in comfort. And while I am looking forward to that, it would have also been cool if somehow my original base could have been carried over. But truth, the greatest enemy in this game is your inventory, and to expand that to create bigger, better things. And once that's no longer a stress, it kind of really stops becoming a game again. As someone who does study some game design, that's the point where some companies go, you should just, drop this. Another, ask them why they. So LifePod 13 is pretty far out. Kilometer plus, and so that's why I figured the larger sub. Dip down. skillful driving. Here's a good example of those large chunks of ship, which I described before. Explore, find different ways into them, different ways. Bypass a locked door by going through a giant hole in the ship. But these are also good for the extended gameplay. Metroid-esque kind of thing where first time you come to the be able to get into a certain number of apartments and then require tools that you simply didn't have access to. One of those tools, cutting tool, I came across earlier on in the game due to one of the time capsules player, which allowed me to definitely get a jump. It's not like it's a very difficult thing to acquire that tool, but basically a bunch of things which I originally passed over, made notes to come back later. I was able to get those the first time around. Made start of the game 2% easy. But travel's the other thing. There is a bit of sending you back and extend the experience. Of course, the farther you travel, the more dangerous into. Which I believe is not indestructible. It's positive this large sub can be destroyed. Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. I've actually been to this biome before. There's these large stone dropping sort. Somewhere in here, unless I disassembled it, it's a very, very, very small base with simply a scanner. And by going into a biome and building a base with just a scanner room and running that scanner room, made it easier to find certain bits of technology. These quests to find these life pods are also cookie crumb quests to get you to go to these new biomes. And since I have already been to this one, chance that I, on my own, found that pod, explored it, still be in. Oh, that's what I was looking. You can also change the color of your ship. A bunch of other stuff. Mine's called the Tiger's Club. For those of you who get that reference, high five. Super speed high five. Don't remember if those guys were friendly or. Some of these creatures just look cool. Others will shoot you down. Whoa. What was that? Why was that going so fast? I don't remember if these were. But they at least don't seem predatory, so stab them. Probably okay. Probably. So my guess is this is another area. But some other parts of the game, these panels indicate that they can be repaired. A wonderful animation of them breaking in reverse. As a solo independent developer, not even Fortune, small team, I can certainly understand and pretty much any shortcuts that I've seen them. And the truth of the matter is that their early access campaign prior to release was so successful, it's what allowed them to make this game what it is now. It's not that they wouldn't have been able to have made it had they not had that much good fortune. It's just obvious that they...
All systems online.
Thank you. That they had the time and the money and the manpower to make an indie game that seems very close to a AAA title. If you know, if you were to use that with the same nomenclature that they actually use for baseball teams, say that this is easily a AA. Whereas most indie developers that release a successful game which actually works singly. So that's just a base.
This is LifePod 4. We've landed close to the Aurora. Flotation device is active, but we've got some big old fish in the water with us, and I don't know how long we're gonna last. We're close to the crash site, so bring radiation protection. 4 out.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
Okay. As far as my own equipment goes, I think I actually have to go back to my base if they want me to have radiation gear. This is radiation gear. I think I have to go. Let's take a quick look.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
Oh, that's very far away. Well, and where's our new... So high priority passage doing this week. So they said they were going to give me the general look, simply be by the rear of the Aurora. See if I can find that base. I may have dismantled it. It might have actually been dismantled and loaded to the submarine at spare parts so that I could rebuild it somewhere else, because right here. Yeah, this is one of those 2 beacons I off earlier. This is the mushroom forest. Should have one. I don't. Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely animations. I am a solo indie developer who also does his own 3D animation design work, and mechanical animations like this are more than just my cup of tea. Well, have to.
All systems online.
Let me back in. Run off and get quite nice. Maybe I'll extend the stream by 5 or 10 minutes if I do so. Right. Try to find our way. Don't need our original life pod anymore. Now that I have it here. So go ahead and turn that one off. There we go. Now we have. Eventually, there's going to be a wall. Correctly. So the base, which I had created, I found a very unique spot in the game, which I almost felt like one of the developers might have even put personal touch into. It's pretty easy to tell when you go from one biome next because of the changes in color and environment. This particular base is at the intersection of 4 biomes, in addition to being in one itself, which seems to be different from the surrounding. When it was time to find resources and things of that nature, I was in a prime location because the resources spawning in different biomes, having close access to 4 different biomes, to mention a rather nice environmental feature, which was obviously, like I said, not procedurally generated. Obviously, some artist put it together. I come back to the base, so you take. All the trouble. If I had expected
Fluid intake.
this would have happened, I would have actually probably just used the CMOS. Just risk losing power.
Vital signs stabilizing.
Good food. And that's the biggest part of the game early on, right there. Is when you get the notice that your life signs are unstable, that you need food. It's not just a matter of popping open your inventory. It's more of a matter of rushing to before you expire. This particular biome, this red grass hides large amounts of quartz. So now we're crossing into shallow biome, start of the game, from the red biome. But almost immediately, we will then switch into this is located. Now the base is close enough to the Aurora that most likely let's use the sea moth. Find what we're
Engine powering down.
dark. Alright. And,
Welcome aboard, Captain.
that I said I was.
All systems online.
Just recalled that I was going to bring the sea moth with me. So, shadow work is great on this. Coming in externally. Fittingly creepy. It is not intended to be, I'm sure.
All systems online.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Alright. What upgrades do we have in here anyway? Storage and depth. Stack. Yeah, that's what those are, those floaters. The inside of my base with floaters. It did not make the... I did not expect it to. I haven't been to the part of the base yet, which is, I guess you call it living quarters. And if we're to have more items, this would be the base. I did have a radio here, so let's see what we got. Fabrication kits. Can. Don't even remember how or why I got this. It's just a random pod that had a broken fabricator that was only making toys. I went back and I picked up a bunch of the toys. Say,
Oh God! Hello, everybody.
I believe there's a Jacksepticeye one too, or just the eye. I don't remember if I have that and it's somewhere else or if I that one. Oh, that's right. The fish in the aquarium I actually stocked myself. I have a reef tank inside my video game. I'm playing on a streaming channel that streams reef tank. It's not my desire. I was fooled. Which I was. Fallout 4 all over again. See how our batteries are. 87, 88, 74. But we did not find what I was looking for. There's no radiation clothing. Mentioned before, a natural feature that I built the base on It's this multi-tiered hole going down to an underground cave system filled with little glowing purple mushrooms and such. And I thought it was so cool. I wanted to build my base there. Like I said, later on I found out that it seemed to be the at the junction spot of different biomes, so it's just very useful. I believe I actually used to just take my salt with me and dump it outside. And then laugh at the fact that the salt would not dissolve back into the ocean, but would instead stay in a big block of salt. These nitpicks are not anything other than small little jokes. The game is a wonder. Okay. Quite well stocked. Well, definitely be to my benefit. Find that ready. So, it's in this one. This is eggs. I don't remember. Oh yeah, you can build a large internal aquarium, like a, I believe, multi-story one. Eggs in it, hatch them. There are fun little creatures that you can find. Could it be this one? Could it be this one called gear? Radiation suit, radiation gloves, radiation helmet. Seems to be everything that I needed. On those lines. Okay. Take off my gear. Figured this out. Figured everything else, for the most part. Eggs. Metals. Optional. There we go. High-speed process. Okay. I think we're now ready to go and not ride into. Let's see. 70. Once we start going into the deeper areas, we'll prawn more often. It has offensive capabilities, like a giant drill arm.
All systems online.
Okay. So it just said to generally go.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
Yeah.
distress call.
This is LifePod 6. I have a passenger on board. Coordinates attached. We've landed a kilometer from the crash site, but there's radiation in between us and the rendezvous. Request immediate assistance. 6 out.
6 and 4. I don't actually have a location for either of those. Might seem like approximate area. Well, let's head over to the Aurora. It's over that way. So, this change in color here indicates moving into a biome behind the Aurora, which you can already hear has incredibly horrible, horrible things. And I have thought that I've been safe here before, and not been. It seems they won't chase you into other biomes. You can outrun them, but and there's one. Yes, and I'm leaving. It will take this and crush it like a little tin can. And few things are sadder than watching your sea moth fall into a bunch of pieces on the ground. So then you have to build a new one. They're really not good. Uh-huh. It's a little...
Signal coordinates corrupted.
This is LifePod 4. This is LifePod 4.
High priority automated message.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
Okay. Supposed to just find the pod, or if a signal appear when I get close enough. But I believe I'm already in the radiation. Skilled. Saw that. See, now we're heading towards the front of the... which is significantly more dangerous from the back, as it just sort of goes down deep. Deeper you go down, I'm told there are things down there, but there are also horror. It's probably not the part I was thinking. That, however, is something I don't know if I've actually come across before. Perhaps. Interesting. Probably not good for submarines. Or little tank submarine. That sounded horrible. Is that you? It sounded too loud for you. I'm gonna
Passing 200 meters. Oxygen efficiency greatly decreased.
scan. Not been to this particular area before. Means that thing is probably behind me, about to kill me. Happens.
Detecting volcanic activity and several unusual electromagnetic signatures in the region. Exercise caution when diving deeper.
Yeah. About that. Oh. We may have found one of our missing life pods, except it is not one of the ones we were looking for. Oh! Oh, that hurt. Not good for the ship. Okay. To get a little and distance. Will explode. So that was interesting. That's where Life Pod 12 is. Life Pod 12 is not where we were looking for. I am correct. Six. Okay. Make another stab at that life pod because I actually so dangerously that I'm saving my true danger. Let's see, it was right.
Passing 200 meters. Oxygen efficiency greatly decreased.
This feels safe. Feels safe. Okay, so I have
Integrating new PDA data.
not been here before. Let's find out what's up with that PDA and get out of here. Oh, okay. Huh. Like a disturbing school of sharks. We should have a new P. Let's see. Access PD. Yes, here we are. Okay.
I'm not really a doctor. I know that's what my ID says, but I never have been. cheated the medical exams. What does a doctor these days need to know about manually resetting bones? When was the last time a top surgeon actually cut someone open? That's what the robots are for. Doctors these days read diagnoses off of computer readouts. For that, I'm perfectly qualified. But what good is it when I'm not connected to the main network? I'm bleeding. I've got glowing green pustules growing on my hands. I run a self-scan and it tells me I've got skin irritation. The only thing I studied in medical school was how to lie convincingly. What the hell do I know about how to treat an alien disease? I think I'm actually going to die down here.
Well, it does look like we have something here. Oh. This is handy. 4 and 6, which we're looking for, come with clue. I think I had missed this previously. Let's see, notes to self. Telling me you've been on this rig more than a year and you never took a ride on the outside? Well, now you've only gone and gotten yourself a friend with the keys to a giant frickin' robot suit. Only nothing to do till we get Starside to work on the gate. Want to taste the stars, you only gotta say, spare prawn suit's got your name on it. You don't know what power feels like till you've crushed an asteroid with your bare, heavily mechanically augmented hands. Want to play catch with a passing meteor? Come by cabin number 1. Code's 1860. And that is on the Aurora, which I have explored somewhat. That's how I got the prawn parts from the prawn loading bay. Let's see. Number 6. Flying to approximately 100 meters. Red grass. Natural arches and rock stacks. Transmission approximately 400 meters west-northwest. Life pod 4. Snow location. Okay. Flotation device active. Life pod located sea level. Close proximity radiation fall. Transmission approximately 100 northwest of the Aurora's port section. Okay, actually I have a feeling where it is. So let's go up, see what we can find. Should be right. Could very well be that speck which I'm going toward. I also know there is a rock outcropping in that direction. This is the general area. I've very rarely been able to. Oh. Very rarely able to find it, but there it is. I bet it's pretty cool. Didn't know that those clues were there, but pretty cool. Oh, wow.
New blueprint acquired.
I'm fairly sure that is for the decoy bay on my submarine.
Integrating new PDA.
To any Altera crew. Landed in area of significant alien activity. Encountered predators in the Leviathan class, highly aggressive. Spectroscope scanner assigned species designator Reaper. One specimen attempted to swallow the life pod, doing extensive damage in the process. Only viable option is to make for the safety of the Aurora crash site. I've retrieved a data box with the creature decoy and enough resources to fabricate a couple of them. The swim's longer than the decoy lifetime, but it should just be enough to keep them busy. If you don't find me on board the ship, presume I miscalculated.
Interesting. Apparently there were decoys. Let's see what we have.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Survival packages. Time capsules. These are those time capsules I talked about. Left by other players very early in the game. Yeah, this was where I got my status rifle from, along with a fusion battery very early in the game. Yeah. I wish I had found more. I don't know if they're still in the game. I don't know if I'll have the ability to leave. I know what I had wanted to say, but life got in the way of me coming back and playing this game as I wanted. Let's drink some water. Let's eat some food. Let's see, something. Creature decoy. Okay. So you can either load it up into the sub and shoot him out as a decoy to get away, or just have one with you, drop it, and then try to make the swim. Well, yeah, okay. The survivor said that he had the requirements, that didn't mean he left the requirements, apparently. A couple of these I don't actually recall seeing. Remember seeing the letter. Interesting. Wonder if some blueprints have been added to the game, or if my memory is just. Well, the clues said that, let's see, what did the clue say first? Data downloads, codes includes 600 meters, 400 west, north. Okay. West north. You have the red grasses. Far enough. Should have dropped a beacon. Oh, here it is, number 6.
Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Some flip. Fabricators down.
Integrating new PDA data.
What are you doing? You were gone so long. I thought you drowned. Put the flare down. I was going to try and attract someone's attention. That's not a distress flare. Stop waving it around like that. You'll catch the fuel line.
These things happen. Okay, so we've found those life pods. Let's head on back to the sub. Check the Interesting. Sometimes you find unexpected entries into the underground biomes. I haven't even found the first ones. This is where exploring gets you killed as an early player. That.
Passing 200 meters. Oxygen efficiency greatly decreased.
Okay. This plant consists primarily of a large bladder-like sac containing something I can read. Let's do that for a minute. This plant consists primarily of a large bladder-like sac containing a variety of bacterial species which may be able to break down from the system. Shares large sections of genetic code with the membrane. Environmental scans indicates plant extinction. I'm assuming that means I shouldn't stab it with my knife. But I kind of want to stab it with the paradox. Getting close to the 2-hour mark. I would like to maybe take a break and come back after I stab this, because I stab it. As I showed earlier, hey, come back here. I could probably eat you. Hey, you tasty thing. You are not the tasty thing. Oh, I did get it. No, I didn't. There we go. It is a thing that I can't pick up. Oh no. I'm being eaten by other smaller things. Some species are carnivorous, obviously, but the reason why I bring it up and it's interesting is that they were actually going after that corpse. Well, we were going to stab a thing. So let's see if we get anything. Oh, inventory full times 5. So I was getting something, but I did not have enough room for it. Which means it probably needs 4 spaces. Drop some titanium, some lead. And let's give a stab. Sea crown seed. Okay, so this is another seed to make sea crown, which is for that giant aquarium.
30 seconds.
Which I would really love to make. That would be actually a fun thing to look into.
Oxygen.
During the next session, or as just a general goal of getting that underground aquarium. I know that some of the fish that you can get, I think they're even called cutie fish or whatever. You can train them as pets and they'll swim around with you. It's supposed to be pretty cool. I watched Jacksepticeye play this for quite a while before it ever came out. What the heck is that? What is that waving? Anything else here can be scanned? Okay. So, I was about to ask if anybody remembered what we were doing, and we were exploring an underground cave I hadn't seen before. Which usually leads to death. But a little bit later. See what else we can play. Looks like another egg. Pretty common. I believe I have. Small egg or big egg? You are smaller.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Looks like we can't go deeper from here. Might just be a unconnected area. Scan up. So, having found pods 4, 6, and 12, which I'm assuming we'll eventually get a stress beacon. Let's head on back and see what's for us to do. I think, quick 5-minute break to see if I can't get some tea, perhaps a little coffee. Back and play a little bit more. Kind of feel like I'm only just now remembering all the controls and ground and such, and it would be fun to play a little bit more, have a bit of a clearer idea of what I want to do in the next session, other than continue the main story. Right. Pretty close. Now, I actually have a alternate food source across from where my habitat is. Here I actually just went. There's a fish. I'm trying to remember which fish it is, but it is incredibly nutritious compared to
Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Here we go. Oh, I have no inventory. Oh no. Sure, what just happened? Ah, I was being shot. These things. Infinite amount of air. Once. No. See, those are the little carnivorous guys. Got my meal before me. Cooked peepers are definitely not. There's food back at the base. let's head back at the base. Change my mind, I need the fish. Got lucky, dead fish. Okay.
30 seconds.
I'd always intended to run a bubble line out here so that I could fish and heated. Just realized this whole time wrong spot. My base, however, does have this lovely little fish. I can heal myself up. Get some fish. Good to go. There's a few of these to have made construction of the base easier. The base. So the fishing ground where I was supposed to be is not there. It is. Still can't quite remember. Super nutritious fish was in this area.
Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Come back here. Okay. Food 21. There's the boobs. Good food. Okay. Come here. 23. So we pretty much just came back to the base to check the radio. But might as well charge the Seamoth here. Seamoth is charging. See if I have caffeinated. Oh, I had so much fun making space. I still love looking at it. Adding windows to your base is like the worst thing you can do, and I have windows everywhere. So pretty much every surface that isn't a window, these reinforced plates to equalize the pressure. It took a long time to get this balanced.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
And it never runs out of power. There is a nuclear reactor that you can get, but then you have to periodically not only remove nuclear waste, but put it somewhere. As in, you have to actually dump nuclear waste. I don't believe there's a way to with it. So, have a nuclear reactor in a pit behind your base where you dump all the nuclear waste. That's a little too human for me right now. Scanner ruin my. What do I got? Range, speed. So I haven't really used this yet. Let's see what's in the area. There's a Reaper Leviathan in my area? 2 of them. They are not supposed to come that close. I'm unsettled. I'd send a camera out. However, the cameras seem to not be functioning. Dang, two Reapers. So this list only shows things which are actually in the area. If something doesn't show up, it's not going to show up. It says there's a data point. It's interesting. There's one down here. System. So these green dots, I guess, are not Reaper Leviathans. Those are probably the cameras. So if that's the case, there is this here. Actually, that is where the Reaper Leviathan is, directly on the edge of its territory. Data box. Should be one fairly close by, unless that's... Check it out.
Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
Interesting. The box, but it had already been... I guess empty data boxes show up. All of these wrecks close to the base have been picked over more than thoroughly. So I would be surprised if it was something. Let's get out of here. So I believe we're pretty much here for the radio room. Enough.
This is an automated distress signal from Life Pod 12.
You're done, Life Pod 12.
Warning, Life Pod has sunk beyond safe diving distance. Do not attempt retrieval without submersible support.
Signal location uploaded to PDA.
Well, that was a little bit of a... I believe, just need to wait a few minutes. And it's the next one in the series. This is old area. Interesting. I'm really quite sure that some of these options are not there. This is where my geothermal plant is. Creature egg. There's a creature egg right inside. It is. I'll put in with the... So this is that natural creature egg. Actually tried quite diligently to build the base down under here.
Passing 100 meters.
Some surprisingly good results.
Decreased.
This right here is one of my more favorite games. I've gone out of my way to not pick the mushrooms or any. High real estate value. These are the same eggs I just picked up, so. Eggs go in this cabinet over there. Okay. How many times am I going to do the same? You're not eggs either, you're purple. You shouldn't be there. Not actually sure where to put those. But they come in handy when you need. How much space do we have in Seamall? Seamall. Oh, it's not something I think I realized previously, that the different storage units on the Seamoth are not linked. A third. Ah. That's definitely something that's in there. Alright.
100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
It's interesting, just because of the way the game spawns things, you tend to get a different list every time you come in here. So the range is just big enough to touch those different biomes. Sometimes it's quite a eclectic mix of materials. Let's see if the rating is giving us a new message yet. It has been the 2-hour mark. Do you know what I want to do next? It scares me every time. I do know what I want to be doing next time. So pretty soon we will call it quits for this session. It's a good first start. Certainly a bit more comfortable with what needs to be done. And speaking of radioactive waste, I think that somewhere I actually do have a giant pile of salt before I built these, and decided that I would just keep building lockers in front of lockers until I had all the salt in the ocean and the ocean was fresh. So if you haven't played Subnautica before, having this little double stacked area with water filtration down below and edible, regrowable, replantable food above works really, really. It's just, yeah, it was a good decision. I highly recommend it. Nothing on the radio. I wonder if it's because I haven't left the base, or if they really want me to go all the way back over to 12, which is not what I intended to do. Let's breathe. Oh, no. 200. Really? Place that biome was so close. And that's... Was it? Seamoth? Come back, and then the radio should be reset. I hope my mic levels have been okay. That was a tiny little bit of feedback. And then I would assume my mic levels are actually okay. Did I get no? All right.
All systems online.
So let's knock this guy out of the way. Oh. I see where the confusion was. It is 250 meters depth, not 250 meters away. It's like 2 kilometers. Yeah. Let's just sort of go over this general direction and then come back and see if we can get the next pod or the next bit of the story. When I do decide to make the specimen aquarium, one that you can put the eggs in, probably gonna need to farm materials. I don't know if that's something I'll do. I don't know if that's something that I'm going to do on stream. It can be fairly tedious, but you could also say that it's not tedious, but mellow.
This is Life Pod 7. Coordinates attached. Pod is structurally sound, but the fabricator's bust. Requesting assistance. 7 out.
Signal coordinates corrupted. Approximate transmission origin recorded to data bank.
So I mentioned earlier that I had some toys. I do believe I may have found the life pod which they are referring to already, and that is where these toys came from. As he mentioned, a broken fabricator. But now that this aquatic species has evolved to grow in deep, sandy environments and to conserve its hydration levels against relatively extreme external temperatures. The root system can fragment the shell rock it grows on to form, allowing predators to graze but not easily up. Grazing will tend to dislodge parts of the plant, and each section is capable of plant, explaining the concentration of bushes and some parts of. Edible in small quantity. I did not try eating them. Always good to know that there's another thing that you can fresh that will be water other than bulb fish. This is rather cool. Giant bulb bush. Centuries old. While it dominates the surrounding area, a complex root system below the surface connects it with the other bulb bushes. Nutrient flow within this network suggests the giant bulb has adapted to feed your bushes and keep the forest healthy. And the membrane tree is something which I had found in a previous playthrough, and I know is somehow connected to the. This would have been more impressive if you were able to see it, although I'm not sure. I'll save that for next time we actually cross it. But the reason I came in is to find. Okay. The distress signal has been received from LifePod 7, but the attached coordinates were corrupted. Last available photographic data has been downloaded and analyzed. Transmission origin approximately 1 kilometer southwest. Stern section. Southwest. Stern section. Huh. Might have to leave that one for next time. That would take a searching. Keep calm. Okay. So again, that's it for the radio. LifePod 12, we can... I think we're getting a little bit closer to the 2.5 hour mark. I was going to push on, but I think this is actually a really good stopping point. I have an idea of what I would like to do in the next session. We also have some other series that we want to touch base on before we start our gaming marathon. I had hoped that we might get the 50th subscriber while this was while this stream was going, but I am fully aware that the time period I picked for this stream is the one where the most number of people who would conceivably be watching it are asleep. It's kind of when it's the early morning over in Europe, and it's late night here in the US. We will be doing some more shows in the day with more of a normal schedule, and we'll still be having the fish tank in between. There'll also be a secondary channel. Should have a pure stream of the Reef tank during the day. So if you're one of those folks who hosts this channel and are wondering why you're hosting video games when you expected it to be fish, our alternate channel is MileHighReef Tank. Go ahead and give a follow on there. Up until now, it's just been auto-hosting whatever we play here on the main channel. But going forward, that will be the pure tank stream for people who want that. Myself being one of them. And then we'll also have the gaming channel, which will go back and forth. As well as some other things that we're planning, like shows based on the fish tank, maybe some graphic art series and some series. It's a Twitch channel. So, with that said, I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off here, back in the base with power turned on. Head down to my Keep Calm kitty poster. I could even sleep. Look at that. Wunderbar. Okay. Well, thank you all, and back sometime soon. Let's see if I can't gain control of my computer. I did. Thanks again, everybody. See you next time.